Just think about it, 4,256 hits. To do that, a player has to play 20 years and get 200 hits a year. That's 4,000 hits, and he's still 256 hits short. Nobody's going to ever do that. Nobody plays 20 years anymore. Nobody gets 200 hits a year. But will he ever be reinstated? I don't think so. The rule was, if you bet on baseball, you're banned for life. That's the rule. It's 21C. It's on the clubhouse door for all to see. He broke that rule. The rule was a lifetime ban, and he signed a lifetime ban, and they're going to hold him to it. And I don't, unfortunately, I don't see him ever getting into the Hall of Fame, even though we all know that he certainly belongs there. During that 1989 season, which is probably the worst season of my life, because Pete and I were very good friends. And in spring training of 1989, we were in Plant City, and it was one of the first days of spring training, and I arrived at the ballpark, and Pete is standing out on the backfield by himself. And I walked over there to him, and he said, "You're not going to see me for the next couple of days." And I said, "Why is that?" He said, "I'm going to New York. Commissioner Peter Ugroff wants to ask me my opinion on a few things." I was thinking, at the start of spring training, why would the commissioner call the manager of the Pete Rose to New York to ask his opinion on anything? Well, it turned out they were calling him in to ask him about his gambling. And I had to start writing stories every day about our investigation on Rose. And of course, it became a kill the messenger thing. I was the guy asking the questions every day and wrote the stories. So he became very angry with me, and we went 15 years without speaking. And a few years ago, I'm in Las Vegas with my wife Nadine, and we're at Caesar's Palace, walking down the shopping mall there, and Pete Rose is sitting in the one of these shops, memorabilia shops, signing autographs. And my wife Nadine, who is a bit pushy at times, said, "Why don't you go in there and say hello to Pete?" And I said, "Are you kidding me? Pete Rose hates my guts. I'm not going in there. He'll start a riot." And she said, "Go in there and say hello." So I went in. He had his head down signing autographs, and I said, "What do you say, old-timer?" And Pete looked up, and his face turned red and blue and green. But he jumped up, he shook my hand, and invited me back behind the table. We had our picture taken together, and he had it developed right away and put in a leather case, and he signed it to Hal McCoy, a great Hall of Famer from the hit king, Pete Rose, which was very great, very nice to make up that way. A day later, this was during the All-Star break, a day later the season resumed back in New York. And I walked into the clubhouse, and Dr. Tim Kremchek, it was Dr. Kremchek, asked me, "Hey, I hear that you saw Pete Rose the other day." And I looked at the doctor and I said, "How did you know that? I haven't told anybody." And he said, "Well, Pete called me yesterday after you saw him, and he said, 'Guess who stopped in to see me yesterday?'" And Tim said, I said, "Who?" And he said, "Hal McCoy, and I thought he hated my guts." About a week later, Pete showed up at Great American Ballpark, and he's not allowed in the press box or in the radio booth, but he was outside an area there outside the press box, and he asked for me. And I went out to talk to him, and Marty Brenneman joined us. Marty, of course, is also in the Hall of Fame. And we're standing there, and a fan came up with the camera and says, "Do you mind if I take your picture?" And we said, "No, that's fine." So the three of us line up, and the guy taking the photo says, "Look at that, 3 Hall of Famers." And Pete Rose said, "Well, 2.5. One of my all-time favorites among many was catcher Johnny Bench.